What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Mini TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, and tonight, y'all, we're going to be picking back up on Smoke, y'all. That's right. This is Season 1, Episode 7, titled Whitewashed Tombs. I hope you guys have had a wonderful start to your week. It is just Monday, though, okay? It is just Monday, but I'm trying to get these shows out for you. Hopefully, because Wednesday came out last week, y'all, and thankfully they only released 4 episodes. So I'm gonna try to do 1 or 2 at a time, and we gonna get caught up. But I'm so excited. I'm almost finished watching the first season, so I can give y'all a real confident, thorough review. Okay. I could give y'all nothing less. All right, so without further ado, though, we're not here for that. We're here for Smoke. Let's go ahead, get into the synopsis real quick, and then we're going to get right into the episode. So the synopsis for this one is: on the heels of heartache, Calderone clocks in for a covert mission. Gudsen navigates newfound glory and an unexpected confrontation. Y'all, this episode was crazy. Let me see if I can find my notes. Oh my goodness. And then we still have one more episode to catch up with on this show. Don't forget, if you have Apple TV, if you don't, but you have T-Mobile as your provider, go ahead and utilize that because it's for the free, okay? So if you have Apple TV, the new episodes come out every Friday. So just to give y'all something good to kick off y'all week. I don't know how many episodes they're going to have, probably like 10, all right? So let's go ahead and get into the episode. So the episode kicks off with Michelle bearing her complete soul to Steve about her situation with her mom. And it seems like to her, she's the only one who's upset about the fact that her mom is going to get released from jail. And not necessarily released, but I think she's going to be like paroled. Okay, so if she violates, she can probably go back to jail. But in her eyes, it don't matter how much time she spent in jail, this is not going to be forgiven. This sin cannot be forgiven in her eyes. So she's explaining it, and the way that she's explaining it made it seem like her mom had sprinkled some sort of fairy dust over the entire neighborhood to make everybody forget how much hurt she had caused, especially to her. Because she said that while she was in there, as the smoke was filling her lungs and everything, it left her to deal with all of these feelings of being unworthy of living. Like, you leaving me in here is basically you telling me that I don't deserve to be here. Okay? You made the choice for me. So no one seems to see that. So of course he tries his best to comfort her in the guy way that he knows how. Let me come over there and let me talk to you. Let me love on you. Let me support you like a good friend should, okay? Because after all, I am your best friend. And she was like, yeah, you actually are my best friend, but I'm sad. I'm very, very sad, Steve, but I'm not stupid, okay? You good exactly where you at, on the phone over there. Wherever that place may be, okay? There was something else that I was gonna say right there, and also while she's talking to him, telling him her feelings on the episode, there were these like in the background there was like this voice, and I feel like it's the voice in her head telling her, that it's not, I think it's not enough, or it's not going away, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. So I don't know if she's trying to convince herself that she's worthy of living or that she's a good person when she's really not. I don't know what that is, okay? But it seems like she might need a little bit of, she need to go talk to the therapist. She need to go sit on that lady couch. For real. Because she might be suffering from some sort of mental illness from all of this. I mean, it's so traumatic, especially, and then not only that, y'all, but she's a detective. So imagine the trauma that she has to deal with day in and day out from different cases. You carry that for the rest of your life, you see things that you just simply can't unsee. It doesn't go away ever. Okay. So she may need to go sit on the lady couch. She need a couple of hugs. She probably needs some medication. Get the help, girl. So the next morning, she ends up having breakfast with her sister-in-law. I don't know sister-in-law name, okay? Just know that this is baby brother's wife, okay? And so she's expressing her concerns about what type of impact her mom getting paroled to his house is gonna have on her niece. She loves her niece Sophie, but that's where the venting is cut short, because sister-in-law was like, baby, what you not finna do is be projecting your childhood trauma onto my baby, because although I feel for you, trust me when I tell you, I am not your mama. Okay, I'm not gonna do that to my daughter. Okay, so you can cut that. Now, if you want to rehash that trauma that you've been dealing with all your life, that's on you. But don't bring that over here to my house. Okay, we're not gonna have that discussion right now. And so, while she's soaking in her misery, Dave is riding a wave, y'all. He is riding the wave of fame. The town's local hero is on every news channel giving interviews left and right. People are so into him right now, y'all. The publishing company that turned his book down not too long ago, baby, they spinning the block. That lady called. She called that man in and she was like, hey, so I mean, I know you're real smart and all, but what happened here? Because why did we turn his book down? And so the dude is explaining all the reasoning behind it. He was like, I didn't feel like it met our standards. And she was like, go get that man on the phone. Get him on the phone. Now, I'm pretty sure it's because she saw him on the news. Any other day, honey, she wouldn't even be worried about him nor his story that he was trying to tell y'all last year. So while she's considering spinning the block on this dude, Ezra and the crew are pissed. Aside from the slip up in the book, they don't have any type of hard evidence against this man. Now, just then, the phone rings, and it's the publisher, Miss Boswell, and she's calling to speak to Dave about possibly talking about a book deal. Okay, and so they end up filling her in, telling her what they're all about. And they tell her, hey, you don't call his phone. Don't call his phone until we complete our investigation. And instead of them letting her go, they decide to work out a deal with her for some sort of publishing rights to the exclusive for their story after they arrest him. Okay, they explain the whole situation about he's writing a book about basically about himself, inspired by true events, but he's such a narcissist, this book is about himself. Along with trying to catch another arsonist, he's telling these true stories inspired by the life that he living out here in these streets currently. Okay, so when we bust him, when we take him down, you can have the exclusive rights to that story. And so she was like, all right, cool. So she agrees to help them catch Dave up. Speaking of Dave, he checked out of that seedy motel because apparently, they still telling him. They still got eyes on him and all his moves. He always feel like somebody's watching him, and that's because they are. Multiple eyes are on you at all times. So he done been holed up in that seedy ass motel. He was like, you know what? I ain't gotta live this type of life no more. Y'all, he checked out of there. He went back home. He went to Ashley's house, y'all. Guess he figured Ashley would have a change of heart after hearing about all his newfound fame, right? But to his embarrassment and to very much my delight, she was like, oh, hell no. You need to clean up your mess because, y'all, he had came in. He had started making breakfast and everything. And so when she came downstairs, she was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, hey, babe. I'm fixing frittatas, your favorite. And she was like, no, you not. When I tell you, after that conversation that they had the last time they saw each other, I wouldn't eat none of that man's cooking. Ain't no telling what he got off in there now. I know he's supposed to be an arsonist and all, but baby. Okay, yep. Don't eat his food, Ashley. And so she was like, look, clean up your mess, get the rest of your things from the garage, and get the hell out. And he was like, oh, baby, but them was just words. We was just saying stuff to hurt each other. People say stuff like that all the time. And she was like, nah, every word that I said, I meant that. And I still do. You gotta go. I hope they ain't gave his room away yet. He said checkout was at 11 o'clock. Okay. So he goes to work and receives the praise that he was looking for at home. And then he gets this call from the prison housing Freddie. Now, of course, Freddie had gotten arrested because he busted him, right? So Freddie done been up at that prison for 2 days. And Freddie ain't talking. Okay? He ain't uttered a word aside from agreeing to only talk if he is able to talk to Dave. So now they calling him looking for his help. Oh, just something else to rub in their faces, okay? So Dave was like, yeah, I usually don't do stuff like that, but any way that I can help, I'm coming. Okay? So he agrees to go speak with Freddie and even allows Michelle to accompany him. So they arrive, excuse me, y'all. They arrive, and Dave goes in to interview him while Michelle kind of hangs back behind the two-way mirror. Okay. And so if arrogance was a fragrance, when I tell you, you could have smelled that man as soon as he entered, not the room, but the building. As soon as he hit the front door of the building, he was so cocky when he stepped into that room, y'all. I'm telling you, I cannot see. I can't wait to see how they take this man down. I really can't. So he came into the room, and he had this big hair, right? Just his head was so high up in the clouds because he had nabbed Freddie, right? The milk jug arsonist. And so he said, you know what, man, I had you picked, okay? I profiled the hell out of you. The only thing that I got wrong was the big ass fro. The big afro that you were supposed to have, you didn't have that. I was like, you know what? Somebody need to arrest that man right now. Arrest his prejudice behind. I'm tired of him. Now, I know that the sketch, because you remember they put that sketch out a while ago, and Freddie did have like a little, fro with some glasses, and he has a little hoodie on. I know what the sketch looked like, okay? But the comment that he made was completely unnecessary. So he started asking him, when did you start setting fires, Freddie? Okay. And then he also starts bringing up the history that he had within the foster care system. Yeah, he telling him everything that he did to nab him, besides that breaking and entering part. Oh, yeah, because that's illegal. But the only question that really matters to Freddie right now is, who gave Doug that big hole? And he was like, he was taken aback. He was thrown off his whole scene, how he had it playing out in his head. He was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, the hole. So then he starts y'all, I'm so sorry. I'm still getting over a cold. He starts talking about how when he was younger, he saw this dead bird. And the bird basically had decomposed so much that the maggots and stuff was basically eating the bird's insides. Okay? Sorry, y'all. That was a little graphic. And so he was like, who gave you that big old hole? Did your mama do that? Who did it to you? Who hurt you like that? And so he symbolically tells Dave that he's got a leaky hole where his heart should be. It was your mama. Didn't she do it? And so Dave starts getting real uncomfortable. He starts stammering and stuttering, and he can't even keep his focus on the questions that he's supposed to be asking him. He tries to redirect, and Freddie has complete control over this man. And so Freddie was like, I bet you it was your mama. She peeped game as quickly as I did. I know exactly who you are. And I bet you your mama knew the smell of shit when she saw you. His words, not mine, y'all. I was like, dang. So Dave is like a volcanic exploding on the inside, y'all. He was so upset. And so then Freddie even compared him to whitewashed tombs because whitewashed tombs are very beautiful presenting on the outside, right? But on the inside, you just a coffin housing a dead a dead body, okay, or dead bones, depending on how far they done decomposed. I was like, you know what, Freddie, as villainous as you are in this show, it takes a villain to bring one down. At that point, they should have arrested Dave, y'all. They really should have. Of course, they didn't have no evidence, so they couldn't. But I was like, yeah, Freddie, you tell him. And so as he's walking out, him and Michelle are walking out, we hear Freddie's very hoarse version of the evil Thriller laugh. Okay. It's haunting Dave. And so Dave manages to hold it together until they get outside, y'all. And he just pukes all over the car, the front of the hood and everything. I was like, you got to take that to the car wash right now. Go get a bucket of water, fill it up, and throw some of that off of that. Because you know if it's real hot outside, ooh, it's going to stink, y'all. So he ends up blaming it on some bad tie that he had ate earlier in the day. And he was like, look, I'm finna call it a day. I'm just going to go home. And Michelle know. He threw up because that was the first time somebody done clocked him and called him out on his BS, on his crimes. She know exactly who that man is. So later on, he ends up meeting with the undercover agent from the ATF who's been helping Ezra and them. So the lady out of the dynamic duo. So the lady is posing as the assistant to Miss Boswell from the publishing company. Now, they called a meeting with Dave because they wanted him to hash out some of the details surrounding the book deal. Okay. They get him to verify actual events that he mentions in the book. We just got to verify what's real and what ain't. Okay. Because people going to start asking questions and we just need to know these answers, right? And so as they're getting him to do that, Ezra and the crew are listening close by in like one of those food trucks. Y'all almost had a brain fart. So they get him all juiced up, okay, off champagne. And I was like, damn, I thought y'all was in a diner. I didn't know diners had champagne like that. What is this, Mimosa Sunday or something? So they get him juiced up. Bottomless mimosas on Sundays, y'all, don't do it. Don't you do it. So they get him juiced up off that champagne and he gets a little loose-lipped after a while when it comes to motives of the DNC arsonist, hinting that he had to grow up in the struggle because we know this is about him. So he hints that, of course, the DNC arsonist had to grow up in the struggle, and at this point, he's still barely surviving, even though he's the smartest person in the room, right? Smartest person in the room, still having a hard time trying to prove himself, while his white counterparts are rich and successful and making the most of their privileged lives. Okay? Living very comfortably, might I add. So they're just chatting it up. He's telling them stories that they can't believe. And then after a while, Miss Boswell ends up pushing back about the arsonist still having more opportunities than the average person simply because he himself is a white man. You are a white man. So whether you feel like you had to get it out the mud or not, honestly, if somebody else had to get out the mud just as much as you still got more privilege than them. Just because of your skin color. Okay? And your gender. And so, of course, this pisses him off because he don't like women telling him that he wrong. And so, after that, he ends up shutting down. Now, they did try to bring him back around and start asking him questions about the hardware store fire, but he was like, girl, I'm done with this. Okay? Now, as that's happening, Michelle ends up staging like this meet with Ashley by pretending to crash her gym. Okay, she talking about, yeah, I just joined. And so y'all, Ashley came up in there. She trying to get on the treadmill. She was like 3 treadmills down from Michelle, right? So And she get on all these different treadmills and ain't none of them turning on. And so coincidentally, she ends up next to the one right by Michelle. And she was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Ain't you Dave's wife? Hey, girl, how you been? And so she was like, what are you doing out here? You know, she's like, girl, I just joined this gym. Okay. And so then Ashley ends up looking down and she was like, girl, you real cute. Okay. You cute enough for my husband to cheat on me with you. I don't blame him because you fine. So y'all, she looked down and she ends up seeing that Michelle done unplugged all the treadmills. So this was not a happenstance, okay? You did this purposefully. And so Michelle ends up telling her, hey girl, so what if I told you that I was looking into your husband because I think that he done committed some crimes, right? And she was like, what type of crimes are you talking about? And she was like, what type of crimes do you think that he committed? And she was like, honestly, nothing would surprise me. He probably done did it all. Rest in peace of Shotty Love. Done it all. And so they end up having a conversation, a little sit down. And she brings up the fact that Dave would often lie and tell her, hey, I gotta go. Late at night, or just at night in general. He'd be like, hey girl, I gotta go work this fire. But then she would like be kind of listening for the scanners and she would never hear anything about a fire coming over the scanners. So she knew he was lying in. She also talked about sensing like this hidden darkness within him. Like he could, they just could be having conversation and he could be smiling up and down, all in her face. And then as soon as he turned around, she said she had caught a reflection one time, like in a mirror or something. And she could just see like the disdain on his face, like the darkness within him. Like he really wanted to be physically violent with her, but he never crossed the line. He never put a hand on her. The closest that he got to that was some really rough, kinky sex. Okay. And she even mentioned that he had told her this one time that he had a really dark fantasy about sexually assaulting her. He said the other word. Sexually assaulting her inside of a burning building. And so she was like, but did he do that, girl? And Ashley was like, nah, he didn't do that. He didn't go that far. So a little bit later, Michelle ends up meeting up with Ezra, where he reveals that Reba. First off, hold on. Let me backtrack because I missed something, y'all. While she's talking to Ashley, we find out that Ashley is not his second wife. Ashley is his third wife. Ashley didn't even know that he had had two wives before her. So my question is, what happened to the first one? Because we know about Reba. What happened to the first one? That's what I want to know. So she ends up meeting up with Ezra, and he ends up telling her that Reba, not Ashley, was the one that usually helped him fulfill his strange sexual desires, right? All the little kinky stuff that he be fantasizing about, she down. She was like, baby, come on. I'm here for it all. And so he ended up telling her that he even got like a tape or two of them, like a sex tape of them in his house somewhere. I was like, what? Now, y'all know that people pay him to do those videos. I was like, why he didn't pick it up? Especially after things kind of went sour with y'all. Why he didn't pick up his tapes? Or did he even know? Listen, okay. So she goes to speak to Reba, right? But she don't really get nothing out of her. Reba is just trying to vouch for Dave that Dave is truly a good man. But as soon as she is leaving, because I think, okay, so Reba's husband had came in, and he was like, "Hey, babe," he had came in from the store. He had their son, and so he's just trying to give her an update on like what happened, for like the day's events. And so he was like, "Hold on, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to be going to a party," and she was like, "Actually, I was." So I'm wondering if they were going to be heading to the same party, but either way, that don't matter. So Michelle ended up leaving, right? And as soon as she leaves, y'all, She gets to the party. Dave arrives to the party, and of course, people are cheering him on and yeah, yeah, Dave's the man, and congratulations, whatever, congratulating him, right? So while he's there soaking in all this love from his colleagues, he gets a phone call from Reba, and we don't see what she say. And honestly, I wish I could read lips a lot better than what I usually pride myself on. Baby, I couldn't understand what she was saying. And they had slowed it down too. So whatever she was saying, it was rolling slow mo in his head because he was trying to process what she was saying. But whatever it was, she basically gave him the heads up about Michelle and the crew. So he gets real anti-social at the party. And also, while Michelle was talking to Reba, she had kind of hinted that she didn't kind of hint, she hinted that she had a relationship with her boss, but that was a long, long, long time ago. So I don't know if Reba also told him that little dirt. She had to, because at the party, Steve had rolled up on Dave, was trying to sing with him and, share a drink with him, this, that, and the third. And so then here comes Michelle, and he was like, oh, so what y'all got going on? So Michelle ends up telling Dave, Steve was my first training officer in the field, I guess. And so he was like, oh, so y'all sort of kind of got like a a daughter father type of relationship, right? And so Steve was like, man, bro, what the hell? Basically implying that Steve is old enough to probably be her daddy, but he also implying like, I know what you and her been doing. Y'all ain't fooling nobody. So Steve ends up getting all up in his ear, telling him, hey man, I know exactly who you are. You want to be me, you jealous, this, that, and the third. And so Dave was finna get ready to like buck up against them, and Steve ended up like gut punching him, right? And so Dave ends up storming out. And so as he's storming out, here come Harvey. So Harvey coming out to check in on him. And Dave was like, man, what the hell happened? You was supposed to be my friend. Why you ain't have my back in there? You let that man just punch me with no type of repercussions. I was like, what did you want him to do? Jump on him? You can handle your own, Dave. You could have fought back and instead you stormed out. So, um, he he was like, hey man, you supposed to be my homeboy. I thought we was friends. And so Harvey was like, hey, so I just done had a lot going on, with baby girl's wedding coming up, this, that, and the third. I just been so distracted. That's the best that Harvey could come up with, y'all. Piss poor excuse. And so now, that's all he needed to know. He just needs to look Harvey in his eyes to confirm what he already had suspicions of, that he in cahoots with them. So they end up storming off, and Michelle comes out to check in and see what's going on. And Harvey was like, he know we working together. He know we working against him. He know what's up. So Dave ends up jumping in his car. And y'all remember, he had that tracker on his car. He done had the tracker on his car the entire time, right? So he driving all crazy. He running lights. He doing this and that. And I was like, dang, didn't you just get T-boned by a drunk driver? You trying to replay this again? So he's speeding, driving all reckless through the streets, and he ended up hopping the curb, right? He skipped the curb with the car. But when he skipped the curb, the tracker ended up coming off the car. So now they done lost him, right? So he ended up going to the office, and I don't know if he was intending on burning down the fire station or what. I don't know. So he went there, he was looking for something. I don't think he found it. He did have like some sort of kind of pocket knife, but I don't know what that was supposed to do. So anyway, he got back in his car, and he's driving. He makes it to a stop sign, y'all. When he looks to his right, he sees Ezra and undercover ATF just chatting it up, having a whole conversation. And so now he really know that they in cahoots. The walls is closing in on him. What he gonna do? what he gonna do? So the next morning, y'all, in trigger warning, because sorry, still getting used to the noises in the house. So trigger warning, because they did put the trigger warning in the beginning of the episode for suicide. Okay, so if this is upsetting you, just fast forward probably like 30 seconds. So at the jail, Freddie is just kind of soaking in these last few moments, really just kind of thinking back over his life, at all the things that made him happy as a person. And so he ends up ripping the sheet in half. And I was like, I told y'all he had skinny man strength. He ripped that sheet in half, y'all. And there must have been some cheap ass sheets. He ripped that sheet in half. And he ended up hanging himself. Now, as the process is being completed, his eyes keep flashing or blinking, excuse me. And so as his eyes are blinking, in his pupils, we see all of the moments that made him happy as a person. And then after that, y'all, he completed it. Such a somber way to end the episode, y'all. I'm sorry, but that's the way the episode ended. Can we please just get Dave? Y'all, Freddie done said everything that he needed to say about Dave. Can y'all please take something from that and roll with it? That's it, y'all. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. Thank you to whoever reviewed me on Apple. I've been going back and checking more consistently to see if anybody's able to leave reviews over there. Of course, you can leave a review, and you can star me up over there on Spotify. It's just stars, okay? I will probably try to implement some more interactive stuff. I was doing the polls for a while. I do need to get back on YouTube, so I'm working on it, y'all. It's just been really busy. All right, so that's it. You guys let me know what you thought about the episode, okay? You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. I love y'all, okay? I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. Y'all, please stay safe out there. And until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.